So hello friends and welcome back to the channel. I'm Patricia and I want to share with you 6 tips about how to get a job as a product designer, as a UX designer. So if you're looking for a new job or even thinking about maybe switching companies or looking for a new job pretty soon, listen carefully because I'm going to share some hands-on tips for you that hopefully will be very helpful. Before we get started with the tips, I want to introduce super briefly my design job board. I am curating awesome job opportunities for you in this job board. It works super easily, so you can just subscribe. You get notified as soon as companies post new job opportunities so that you can be one of the first ones who are really applying for the new job. As you probably already know, there are many jobs out there and many offers, but from my experience, it's always very difficult to really find good opportunities that are really worth applying. So make sure to subscribe to the board, get notified. So I hope this is a really good support for you. And in case you're looking for awesome designers to hire, you can post your job there and get your position filled with super talented designers from my community, hopefully. So I added the link in the description box so you can just check it out. So if you're applying for a job at any type of business, the tips that I'm about to share will be super helpful for you. I'm in touch with a lot of design teams, a lot of hiring managers at a lot of companies, and most of them tell me they pay attention to the same stuff. So in this video, I want to answer a few questions. First, how does the recruiting process usually work? How does that look like? What is the most important thing hiring managers are looking for when they want to fill a position? What kind of skills do you need as a UX, as a product designer? And also how to prepare your CV, your resume, and your portfolio to really be invited to an interview. But I also want to talk about how to approach the interview and eventually the design challenge that you need to solve and how to choose the right company to apply. And hopefully, especially for that topic, the job board will be a huge help for you. So how does the recruiting process usually look like? So in most companies, the process looks almost the same. Here's how it usually looks like. You start with some kind of like a phone screening, you have a portfolio review, you have a design challenge, you have an on-site meeting, you have a team matching, and then you have the offer. So naturally, all the big tech companies like, Adobe, Google, Facebook, you name it, they, have a very strict process. In agencies and startups and also in smaller companies, the procedure is a little bit simpler, but basically the same. And before you get invited to the phone screening, the hiring manager looks at your CV and at your portfolio to decide if they want to invite you for the phone screening or a meeting at the office. And I think what's important to know is that the phone screening in the beginning is usually much more about your personality, about your CV questions. And if that works out, great, you get invited to a meeting at the office, which can take between 2 hours and a full day, talking to several people about your portfolio, about answering different questions that they might ask you. And after that, you get usually a design challenge that you need to solve. That could be either solving them at home and then presenting them later on, or you get a whiteboard challenge where you need to solve the challenge with the team included with half an hour time or something like that. So, and then when there's the team meeting, you usually get the offer if that works out, and you either accept it or you negotiate. And at some companies, at early stages of the process, you will be only talking to the HR people and not design managers. And I think this is super important to really take into consideration. So point number 2, what's the most important thing hiring managers are really looking for? So they need to find out if this candidate, if you are a really good fit for the company's culture, to be a really good fit to the team and to the projects you're going to work on. So recruiting is about finding the right people for the company. And the most important thing to understand is it's not about finding the best people, it's about finding the right people, so the right match. So no matter how great you are, if your skills, your experiences, your thinking or your personality, if they don't really match the company's needs, then you won't get hired. It's that simple. Business-wise, the company has to be sure you're worth it, right? That you're bringing in the money again that they're spending with you. And the second important thing is the personality is super important too, because they really need to like you as a person, and they're going to spend a lot of time with you. You know, half of our lives we're going to work. So companies and candidates really both need to really find out if that's a good match. Also, don't take rejection personally. Hiring manager may think you are a super cool person, but don't necessarily be a good fit for that position or that role. Point number 3, the skills as a UX, as a product designer. So what skills do most hiring managers are really looking for in UX or in product designers? So recruiting is a huge challenge in general, and there are a lot of people out there who call themselves UX designers right now, right? Like who just did one course or one bootcamp and think they already know what they're doing. And I think this is a super difficult situation for hiring managers as well, right? Because there are a lot of like UX, UI designers, also people who might be, you know, like former graphic designers who don't really position themselves what they are focusing on, if that's UX or UI. They're applying with a dribble portfolio. So I wouldn't recommend really doing that. Rather focus on UX or UI and really say like what you really want to work on, and also understand the difference between both, right? They're totally different and totally different skills and different disciplines with different skill sets, right? UX designers, product designers who are really good at designing digital products, from strategy to concept to implementation. So what should be skills and responsibilities of a UX or a digital product designers? Definitely designing interactions, processes, and user interfaces, like Sketch something or any other wireframing, prototyping tool, could also be Figma or Adobe XD. Designing information architecture, you can use Excel for example, and really focus on feature and content definition. Gathering requirements and also conducting workshops with clients, with stakeholders. Creating product strategies and also concepts. Selling the work to the client or your boss or your stakeholder. So really have the ability to explain, to defend your work, and also to prepare presentations that tell a story. Planning and shaping the design process, and also seeing where and when testing and research is necessary, and maybe even taking these tasks in from time to time. So the first two things from the top are the pillars of everything else. So design is often the easiest part of the job, but to do it right, you really need to have a solid understanding of theory, at least a few years of experience, and a really good understanding of the business and also the UI that really matters. So as a junior designers, you should focus on these things. You will be doing more and more workshops and presentations as you grow as a professional. So this is also something that will really push you forward rather than just sitting in front of your design tool. A combination of different tasks will be super helpful for you in really gaining experiences. Hiring managers love young designers who are willing to really participate there, who are willing to participate in workshops and also the strategy part. So designers should also be really good at creating concepts, selling their work, and especially planning, budgeting, scheduling, and leading the design process. And as you get more senior, your work scope and your viewpoint definitely expand, but you still really need to understand the little details and care about them. I personally think that experience with user research, so qualitative and quantitative user research and testing, is a must for a product designer. This varies of course from job to job, but I think this is something that you definitely need to understand what's going on there. So point number 4, how to prepare your CV and portfolio. So first tip, really treat your CV and your portfolio like any other design project. They should be short and sweet, good looking of course, readable, easy to scan, and friendly to the recruiters who review dozens of them. So scannability is the key here. So make sure your CV is not longer than 1 page. Have a short personal introduction. Have a really clear list of your professional experience with responsibility, so what you actually did at a certain position, what was your responsibility, and include a photo which makes it easier to be remembered. Most UXers really come from different backgrounds, so don't worry if your studies or your school really doesn't match the job you are applying for. You know, I studied bioscience for a few years, then I switched to graphic design, and now I'm doing UX. So great UXers come from many different backgrounds. It can be, you know, journalism, architecture, business, graphic design, or psychology. Yeah, so don't worry about that. I would also recommend to really use a template for the CV. There are a million templates out there, so you can just Google and find a good one. You can personalize it, and then it looks really nice. And don't try to show your skills on charts with percentages. Almost everyone is doing that, and it doesn't really make sense, so I wouldn't really recommend it. So one page, one readable font, black text on white background, or a nice photo is totally enough. Maybe some color here and there, but usually the best designers have like the simplest CV. So your portfolio is actually much more important than your CV, because every designer who is looking for a job should have a portfolio. If you're a junior with not so much experience, or a senior. Junior designers especially have that problem that they don't have a lot of projects in there, but you can still create your own projects, right? Like design something for friends, for non-profit, for open source communities, or write your own brief. So junior candidates with portfolios are always preferred to the ones without it, right? So it shows that you are passionate about it. It shows your dedication, and it also shows that you practice and you really want to learn. And portfolios may take many forms and shapes, you know, it really doesn't matter. You can make a PDF or a website or Behance profile or whatever. I would recommend something where you can definitely link things. It's helpful, and make sure that you really show the process, you know, like the wireframes, the screens, the kind of testing and research you did. Quickly describe your role at each project and the challenges you went through and the solutions. Really show the process and the learning, so make sure to incorporate storytelling. And one tip also, to really match your portfolio to the job you are applying for, so similar projects, so your experience in the industry. So really carefully curate the projects. Rather 3 great projects that really match the job description, that are really good work, than, you know, 5 mediocre, right? Because like they're really going to judge you based on your weakest projects. Another, I think, tip also would be to really have your portfolio online, much easier for recruiters to access. No big PDFs. A lot of companies limit their mailbox size, so it's really difficult for hiring managers to really see it, and it gets deleted automatically. So rather send a link to you know, like your website or Behance or anything like that. So great UX portfolio could be created even in it could even be created in Excel or in Keynote. And so let's talk about the interview process. At the interview, hiring managers usually want to hear always the same, so you can already prepare it. So they're going to ask you about your professional history. They are going to ask you, you know, what you've already done, to show you some projects you're working on, to describe your role at each of them shortly. What's your day at work usually looks like, and what you do, what you like, what you don't like that much, who you work with and how, what are the most important things you really focus on. What do you like to do, and what you think is a waste of time, for example, but also what your expected salary is and where you see yourself in the next years within that company. Learn as much as you can about the company, about the meeting, about the people you're going to talk to. Google, check out their LinkedIn and see who they are. So one thing that is important, especially when you are in the office, is that you really watch carefully, look around and see the people there, check out the atmosphere and see how they respond, you know, when you ask them questions, how they respond, and really imagine yourself working there, and you feel that in, you know, inside, if you really like it. So don't be stressed about it. What's really important there is that you need to think out loud and really help them to understand what your thought process is. And yeah. What can also happen is that they give you a task and then a whole week through it, you can prepare it at home and then yeah, come back and do a presentation at their office. So, and really how do you approach the project is really up to you. You can decide what kind of methods use, what the concept really makes sense, and then present it afterwards. So last but not least, what is the right job? And this is all about recruiting. So which company should I pick, and what is really the right job for me? And hopefully the job board is helpful for you there. But a few things that I also really want to talk about briefly is how do you really choose a job that is a good decision. So from my experience, rather applying to like 5 jobs that are really a good fit for you, then 20 is much better, because you can personalize your CV. You can really make sure that this is like a good fit and that you really want to work there, and also adjust your portfolio. Make sure that you really understand like, how's this role within my career plan? Can they teach me anything? How's the, are they transparent? How is like the working culture there? Who's my manager there? Are they going to be, going to support me? And how's the overall culture? How's the working situation? What kind of projects are you going to work on? And as a UXer, you can generally work at an agency. It could be like a software house, consultancy, or any kind of design studio doing projects for their clients. A large established company, often not very digitally native, so working on projects for customers or also for internal tools. You can work at a startup, creating your own product. Think about what you like the most. What of those 3 are interesting for them? Each of these options may have some advantages and some disadvantages for you. At an agency, you will have a chance to work with many different clients from different industry. You will learn a lot, often creating completely new things from scratch, working in a very fast-paced environment. So the atmosphere will be informal, relaxed, and usually super nice. So I was working at an agency at my career beginning, and this was definitely a really good decision because I learned so much at young colleagues. So I had a really good time. But you're dealing with clients who always have the final word, so you need to design with them in mind. I actually think, an agency is the best place, especially for young designers, for junior designers. Like I said, I started myself in an agency and I learned a ton. So at a large company, the pace of work will be generally much slower. You will work on things that usually already exist, rarely on something completely new, but you might focus deeply on just one subject. So there will be more hierarchy. You will be working in larger teams, and sometimes you might feel like just like a tiny person in like this really big machine on this big company. You might find yourself fighting against bureaucracy and already established processes. So cultures be more formal and traditional, but you will probably earn much more money. So at a startup, the work may be, super hectic, and you would probably find yourself wearing many different hats. So you need to do many different things, maybe also marketing and sales. You're working with a small, very dedicated team. However, you will get a chance to co-create something really new and feel truly responsible for a success, for a failure of your company. So it can be very exciting. It's something for more experienced designers, I would say. And I think many startups usually have one designer, so you should really believe in that company and in that mission, and you really need to know what you're doing. So what is the best for you to join if you get multiple offers? You might get tempted to choose the position with the highest salary or the best salary at the moment. And this makes sense, but I wouldn't really recommend that. Depends very much on your career goal. Rather choose a company that really promises you the biggest growth and the biggest growth opportunity through education, through the projects you're working on, and then your salary might rise in the next couple of years, although right now you're earning a little bit less, and you can always negotiate your salary, right? So good atmosphere, nice people, cool projects. Also, a really good work-life balance and personal development are super important, and I personally think much more important than money. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Make sure to check out the job board. I just launched it, so it's new and hopefully very, very helpful for you with a lot of awesome, unique opportunities that I just curated for you. More opportunities, of course, coming in the next weeks. So stay tuned. Thanks for joining, for watching this video. In case you have questions, feel free to reach out or text me on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching and see you soon, my friends. Bye bye.